HR issues can kill you. One complaint against your company can turn your world upside down. And you spend way too much time dealing with HR when you should be spending your time on making a profit. You should talk to Bambee. With Bambee, get access to your own dedicated US-based HR manager starting at just $99 per month. They get to know you and your business while providing HR expertise and the personal touch you need and want. They're available by phone, email, and real-time chat, so onboarding and terminations run smoothly. Team members reach peak performance, and your business stays compliant with changing HR regulations. And with Bambee's HR Autopilot, you'll automate important HR practices like setting policies, training, and feedback. HR managers can easily cost $80,000 a year, but Bambee starts at $99 per month. Schedule your free conversation today to see how much Bambee can take off your plate. Go to Bambee.com right now and type in Accelerate under podcast when you sign up. It'll really help the show. Spelled BAM, BEE.com. Bambee.com. Type in Accelerate.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Oh, that's a cheer we used to do in softball.
What? It's actually Geico's.
Whenever someone hit a triple, we would wave our bats and yell, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. But we never got to use it because we would only hit home runs. Annoying.
The phrase is from Geico because they help save people money.
Geico? Yeah, they were our team sponsor.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Welcome to Accelerate Your Business Growth with your host, Diane Helbig. Diane is a leading small business development and leadership coach, author, and speaker who is passionate about sharing valuable ideas, tips, and techniques with business professionals worldwide. Diane brings you the world's experts and gurus in all things business. Whether it's sales, structure, social media, planning, or plateauing, guests bring their expertise and energy to each episode. When growing your business is your focus, Accelerate Your Business Growth is the show to listen to. Got a topic or guest suggestion? Let Diane know. The goal is to make sure you have the information you need to move your business forward. Thanks for joining us. Settle in and enjoy.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. Today's podcast is sponsored by Audible.com. I'm actually providing you with a free trial for Audible.com. You can go to audibletrial.com/businessgrowth. Sign up for that trial and check it out and look beyond the audiobooks. Audiobooks are great. There's also a whole lot of other content for you to enjoy. The Accelerate Your Business Growth podcast continues to enjoy inclusion on lists of the best podcasts to listen to. And that is because of the guests. These are people who have expertise in particular areas of business. And they join me for a conversation where they share that expertise with all of you. Today is no exception. My guest today is Ronnie Soud. Ronnie is the president of Soud Marketing, a digital marketing agency in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. Over the past 16 years, he's helped hundreds of companies increase their website traffic, streamline their sales process, and grow their revenue by capitalizing on the power of digital marketing. Ronnie's experience spans many different industries, including healthcare, retail, hospitality, travel, tech startups, and real estate investment groups. He moved back to his hometown and founded Soud Marketing in 2017. Thanks so much for joining me today, Ronnie.
Oh, thank you, Diane. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Great to have you here. We're going to be talking about marketing and we're recording this like roughly 10 months into the whole pandemic. And so there's been, if not a total
Mhm.
cancellation of a decrease in in-person networking events. How do you think that's changed how businesses are using digital marketing and are viewing it?
Oh my gosh. I remember back when when the pandemic first started, and locally here when we were about to shut down, it was absolute panic in the business community here. And so because as you said, networking was no more. And so what I found is that it wound up accelerating a lot of businesses that were dragging their feet on digital marketing and creating content and content marketing. It put those services front and center because now it was no longer really an option, right?
Right.
And the early adopters, I noticed were kind of high-fiving because they're like, hey, we have the infrastructure all set. Whereas those companies that were, still, extremely financially successful companies, but ones that were built more on, physical in-person sales teams were the ones going, okay, what do we do? Because everyone had that sinking feeling of where, one, what's the economy going to do? Is it going to be on a roller coaster? But then two, they had their prospect lists, but then when those dried up, how are they going to get more? And
Yeah.
so that's what, the big question was. And I think I was on the phone. I was on the phone with new potential clients all day, every day for like 3 weeks straight, just answering, for the same question almost on repeat. So, me personally, after, that storm kind of started to die down and people saw the path that we were on, I started making more content about how to actually go about executing that. And, but it's been an interesting year for sure, as I'm sure you've experienced yourself.
Oh, absolutely. And while I've been on LinkedIn and Facebook and have done digital marketing for all of my business history, it has
Mm-hmm.
been noticeable how much more traffic there is on those sites. That people just like all of a sudden were
Yes.
flocking to LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
as an example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, certain industries were already better prepared for this, so I think
Yeah.
SaaS, software as a service, content marketing is kind of in their blood, if you're launching some type of an app or web-based app. But, what I found, one, content marketing is equally, if not more important and effective for local professional services, things like mortgages, insurance, medical practices, so on and so forth, equally, if not more effective for them. However, most of them have not adopted it as fast as, what a SaaS, business, SaaS startup has. And they were the ones who were, the absolute most inquisitive and needed to build their, internal marketing infrastructure up the fastest.
So do you think that's because they look at the internet and say, okay, well, that's global, but I sell locally? That they weren't
I
doing it?
think,
You know what I mean? That they weren't, quick to do it?
right. To some degree, yes. I think, a lot of them thought they can skirt around it. But also, I think a traditional sales team, is very well known and understood by, a lot of businesses. It's what they've had in place for many years. So to have to make a monumental change, like that during the pandemic is a tall order, number one. Number two, I'm pro sales team. It's not that I'm not. at all. But I think solely relying on them, you know, in 2020 and now into 2021 is sort of a, you know, kind of a death wish. If we saw that come to, you know, we saw that come to fruition, but to not have content marketing and utilize digital marketing as the great support system for physical in-person sales that it is, you know, I still see droves of people sleeping on that. And that's where I think you get into really dangerous territory when you've never dipped your toe, you know, into digital marketing and creating content and learning how to prospect through social media and Google, and also learning how to nurture through those channels as well, you know.
Yeah, boy, I really agree with that. This is really interesting because I completely agree. I think both are necessary, and I think it is beyond time for companies to embrace how to
Mm-hmm.
use digital, right, for sales, for sure.
Right.
Okay.
And
Well,
I think understanding that relationship, you know, between the salesperson and the marketing team, and not maybe having it be so separate, but getting input from your sales team into what supporting content can we make for you, right? How can we work together? And one place where I see that they could, this relationship needs to come stronger together is in the annual budget planning. And, you know, if it's in the budget, I feel like it starts to get executed. You know, people pay attention to it. Someone's assigned to it, right? If it's not, it tends to get ping ponged and, you know, just sort of batted around.
okay, wait. Okay, I totally agree with that, but I have a question for you because I think it's interesting that you said that the marketing team should be talking to the sales team and asking them what kinds of things, because it feels like traditionally companies, like the marketing team has sort of done their own thing and then told the salespeople what they're doing. But what I'm hearing you say is it's really the other way around, or should be.
Right. I think, you know, one, you can kind of approach it both ways, but the cool thing about having an in-person sales team is, one, their treasure trove of experience and knowledge in prospecting new individuals and asking them, hey, what do most people have questions about related to this service or doing business with us? Okay. Getting all of that feedback, and then go and look at your website, go and look at your social channels, go and look at the creative that you're using to run ads. Are you assisting and answering those questions? And if not, then that should be part of your creative brainstorming process when you do go to market harder, right? So, you know, it's not a marketing team versus sales team thing. I've walked into situations where I see them try to be competitive with each other. And honestly, the very best formula is if they work together, right? And so, you know, then the salespeople can start to point some of their prospects to certain pages on the website, you know, so on and so forth. Also, things like retargeting campaigns can help assist a salesperson with nurturing a particular client, right? Because we can stay in front of prospects now after they visited certain pages on websites and all. You know, more sophisticated retargeting campaigns have that capability. You know.
Okay. Will you explain to the listeners, for just because I think there's some who don't know what that is, what a retargeting campaign, what do you mean by retargeting campaign?
Sure. So retargeting campaigns, and we all, this happens to us, you know, every day in our lives, but you visit a website or you interact with a piece of content on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Okay. What happens is those systems actually tag you as having visited the website or having, watched a good deal of this video or clicked on this ad or, some type of engagement action. When you do that, you then go into a bucket of people that have interacted with, that particular company before. And if that company wants, it can send out what's called retargeting or remarketing ad campaigns, to where they send subsequent ads to individuals that previously engaged or interacted with them at some point in the past. And so this is very prevalent, to where if you go to, an e-commerce store and you might be shopping for shoes, right? So like if you're on Nike.com, you're shopping for shoes, then you're on, CNN or, YouTube or somewhere else, and boom, all these Nike ads, suddenly start to appear. And, it feels, very Big Brotherish, but actually it's really just, that businesses attempt at, staying in touch with you, nurturing you, so on and so forth. And it's a very popular, tactic today, and one that I think is very complementary to actually having a sales team.
Okay. Why? Because they explain why. I'm going to try and figure it out.
Sure. So traditionally, your individual salesperson was out there. They have to go meet new prospects, right? But then they also have to nurture the prospects that they've had in the past, to the point to where they're ready to close. Well, everyone has a different close, time, right? Some people are ready to close within 3 days, some people 3 months, some people 3 years, right?
Yeah.
And so an individual, only has so much capacity within a day. So why not offload some of that capacity? If your sales team can direct their prospects to certain pages on your website, that those particular people that visit those pages have interacted with your sales team, because that's the only way to access that certain part of your site. From there, you could then engage those individuals further through your remarketing and retargeting campaigns. And that offloads some of the pressure for your sales team to continually have to call them or send them emails, because we know that we're able to then serve them ads at later dates. And we can serve them ads up on LinkedIn, Facebook or Instagram, YouTube, or on other content sites that they frequent. So if they're interested in, football or, basketball or, cooking or basket weaving or whatever, most of those content sites allow ads to be run on them. And so that's when you then get to see those banner ads that show up at the top and on and within the sidebars of those sites.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Boy, that just makes so much sense to me. So will you talk some about the connection economy and how it's impacting business?
Yes, this is another hot topic that I think a lot of businesses are migrating to now. This is something that was, I believe, ignored before, but now they're looking at alternative methods to see who else, within their organization they can utilize to help with sales. And, initially, I don't want this to, sort of come off wrong, but, the point of it, I believe today in 2020, the point of a really great organization should be to make your employees excited about what they're doing, excited about what the company's doing, to the point where they want to share about it with their networks up on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, wherever, right? I think part of a business and a company's responsibility is to create some content to help their employees do that. In doing so, you then get access to that employee's network of people that follow them on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever. So if you can utilize that those connections that you already have in-house, outside of your sales team, right? You have a lot of other individuals there. If you could create, a company culture within your organization that makes them excited to share about what your company is doing, the updates, the innovations, the new services or products rolling out, what their role is, that could then help the organization get in front of everyone that they follow. A lot of times organizations don't create any content for LinkedIn, right? And individuals are, sort of left to, their own practice to share at will about what they're doing in their lives or their careers. But what I find the better solution is if the company, puts out a really good steady stream of content that the employees can share, you're then able to utilize the connections that all of the employees have. And, really encourage them to share updates about what your organization is doing. I think that's something that I think is lacking culturally with a lot of businesses and a lot of companies today.
Oh yeah, I do too.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting because I talk to a lot of companies about that, and they'll either say that they don't think their people are on those platforms or would be interested in sharing that information, or the company's afraid to encourage their employees to share because they're afraid of what they'll say.
Right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And, in reality, I never find that to be the case, right?
Yeah.
It's always like you said, it's always this back of the mind fear, and it causes them to not do anything, right? And, I'm always of the opinion that not doing anything is worse than doing something, maybe having a little bit of a hiccup and learning from it, right?
Yeah, me too.
And I just feel like that is a massive, almost free, cost-effective opportunity that not enough companies really take care of, because that's more on the organic side. That doesn't really deal with ads. And so, that's one of the things that I preach about when I go in and I talk with new clients. I want to know, hey, how are you utilizing the other people, within here?
And what kind of response do you get?
Oh, it's usually a blank face.
Yeah.
Blank face, mouth open. Yeah. So, they just haven't thought about it,
Yeah.
really. But when I start talking about it, like you said, some are interested, but there's a little notion, of fear, especially at the local level. And, what I tell everyone at the local level, I'm like, if the big guys can do it, who are behemoths, right? If they can arm their internal thought leaders, to share, company content on LinkedIn, you can certainly control it, and have it work to your benefit within a much smaller organization.
Right. You would think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. For some reason, people think, it's easier for, a behemoth like Coca-Cola or Geico to get this stuff off the ground when, there's so many people and layers involved in all of that, when actually I find, your more nimble companies, the ones that are smaller, fewer decision makers, are the ones that really should be bringing this to market hard,
Yeah.
That's my opinion on it.
Yeah,
So,
I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you. I completely agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So which digital marketing channels do you think are best for B2B sales?
B2B, I love LinkedIn, especially right now. I love LinkedIn and I love YouTube. Facebook is definitely, it is a good B2B channel, I don't find it to be quite as accurate. And everyone tends to have a mixed bag of audience, right? Especially me, on my personal page, I have my mom, my aunts, right? All those people. And then I have some business contacts and things like that. So, when I go live, I do tend to have more, of a mixed bag up on Facebook. However, when I do video and all, up on LinkedIn, most everyone there is a professional individual, in some capacity, right? And so I think that LinkedIn has grown leaps and bounds through the pandemic, even faster than they were before. I really love the fact that LinkedIn has pulled up its socks on their ad product. So if you want to run LinkedIn ads, they have really, really made big strides on improving the platform there. And like I said, I also really like YouTube. And as you know, Google owns YouTube. And one of the things that I like about it is, number one, the business world goes to YouTube to learn a lot of stuff, right? They ask YouTube a lot of questions. They research a lot of products. They research a lot of software. They listen to business thought leaders on there, past keynotes, so on and so forth. So, I think YouTube is a really good 50-50 split between B2C, B2B content. And then also, like I said, since Google owns YouTube, if you wanted to run YouTube ads, you're able to target individuals on YouTube based upon, one, either websites that they frequent, or two, based on keywords that they searched up on Google. So if they were researching a particular software product, okay, let's say it's your competitor, right? You're able to then target individuals based upon the fact that they search for your competitor's name on Google. And then your YouTube ad could show the next time they're up on YouTube searching for anything.
Wow.
Powerful.
Wow. I had no idea. I know that is powerful. I had no idea.
Yeah. So for B2B, I do like LinkedIn and YouTube as well. We still do a lot of Facebook and Instagram campaigns for B2B as well. It's, those two channels, Facebook and Instagram, are extremely effective if you want to run those retargeting campaigns to individuals that you might have previously prospected on LinkedIn, right? So you can sort of get that everywhere effect, right?
Yeah. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
This is
And
so
go
ahead.
And what's so cool too is, the pandemic has really accelerated, people's interest in digital marketing, the depth with which they're willing to go. A lot of companies still have a long way to go, but at least they're starting to ask the questions, right? And that's what I like. Whereas, maybe before they were, we're not interested, we don't operate like that, so-and-so has never done digital before. Now there's interest, or at least having conversations. The pandemic has made our field definitely a step in the right direction.
Right. Because people realize it's just like they had to get used to people working from home. They have to get used to the idea of using digital to
Exactly.
Yeah. Ronnie, I'm going to take a quick sponsor break, and then I have some more questions for you.
Okay.
The Accelerate Your Business Growth podcast is happy to be sponsored by Audible.com. And so I'm sure that you know that Audible has thousands of audiobook titles that you can choose from. But you may not know about all the other content, like guided meditations or Audible originals or podcasts, news. It's really incredible. So do yourself a favor. Go to audibletrial.com/businessgrowth, sign up for a free trial, and explore. It really is remarkable. I think you're going to be just amazed. And I will tell you, just from a personal standpoint, that one of the things, there's a lot of things I love about audible.com, but one of my favorites is that I can get all of that content in one place. I don't have to go in and out of platforms and logging in and logging out of a bunch of different things. It's just all right there. It's a bit of a time saver, I would say. So check it out for yourself. Interested in getting some help with your sales strategy? Pick up a copy of Succeed Without Selling on Amazon and wherever books are sold. Today we're speaking with Ronnie Soud about how to use digital marketing like an outside sales team. So Ronnie, let's talk about content. And talk to me about what you think are like the best or what is a good content strategy for discovering and then nurturing leads online.
Sure. Good question. Because content is really the variable for success, right? And so what I always like to follow is, in order to prospect, right? Number one, you need to be helpful. You need to educate. I wouldn't necessarily say you need to sell hardcore. So with the content that you create, it should be, for maybe lack of a better term, a little more FAQ focused, based on helping your target individuals with the problems that they face that you're a subject matter expert on. Okay. And, really be out there, and don't just educate about your company and your process and what you have to offer, but educate about the product or the service in general, And what that'll do is, one, it'll open you up for connection, which is what you need. Okay. You'll get their attention because you're educating them about something that they're interested in, or they're currently really researching or shopping pretty hard. So you are going to have their attention. You're going to have their ear. And that is a great way to actually go about prospecting new individuals. And this is something that, I even do myself. So I put out, a tremendous amount of digital marketing content, and it's all free. And I never talk about myself or my business. It's strictly tactical strategy, all that kind of stuff. And, what I'm looking for there is just, I really want to be a helpful resource for individuals, as it relates to digital marketing. So that's how I suggest prospecting best, is just, go online, be helpful. If you're getting started today, video is really where you need to be concentrating the lion's share of your efforts and your budget and your time. There were, years in the past where images, worked, equally well. But today, where most people are online and with where the platforms want you to be too, video is by far the most effective. It's also the most cost effective in terms of bringing you the most bang for your buck getting in front of the most amount of interested individuals and really engaging with them. So that's my, suggestion in terms of how to prospect. After people have engaged with you, they've consumed some of your educational videos. That's where you can then go and send them more content, and you can start to get a little more personal about your business, what you specifically offer, what your philosophy is, what your culture is, what your process is, what your onboarding flow is like, so on and so forth. A lot of that, and tying this back into salespeople, a lot of that can be iterated the first time or maybe reiterated through sending those engaged individuals subsequent retargeting, remarketing ads that talk about what your company does in some of these specifics. And that's how you can nurture them along on their journey.
That's great. Thank you. I like that idea, because a lot of times salespeople think that their prospect or their new client knows everything that they offer, but not necessarily. The prospect isn't listening to all of that. So if you can then be creating content that helps them learn that, when their mind is open to it, I can see that being really valuable.
Exactly. And, one thing that I discovered too is that I think content marketing also helps the business get smarter in positioning itself within the market. Because I think the business assumes that consumers really know what they offer and how they offer it, right? And that tends to almost never be the case. And so, what appeals to you, Diane, might not appeal to me, and vice versa, right? So you can't assume that there's one way to sell to everyone. And I think, using content to see how men react versus women, or how certain age groups react versus others, I think is a smart, cost-effective way, one, to get in touch with those individual groups, serve them targeted messages, but the amount of information that you're going to learn about communicating and doing business, with, a woman who's 28 versus a woman who's 58 is immense in the way that you need to talk or relate to those two separate individuals is extremely powerful. And content marketing can help you really, really decipher and sharpen your core message for both of those groups, or however many you have.
Right. Okay, you mentioned a second ago about in a cost-effective way. So will you talk some about, realistically, what kind of cost are companies looking at to use digital marketing?
Sure. So, in terms of cost, there is one, the investment cost of creating the content piece. And so if it's well done articles, if it's slide decks, if it's video, there's very cost-effective strategies for doing that. I mean, I do what's called talking head videos, right? Where I flip on photo booth on my laptop and I just start talking about a particular topic. That costs absolutely nothing. And those work great. But then there's also the cost of if you want professional video production, or if you need to bring in an outside writer or writing team to help you execute and write guides and articles and make, slideshow decks and things like that. So there's a cost associated there. And then there is the cost of advertising. And the cost of advertising is something, to where, one, I would come up with a very, very comfortable base budget. And the cool thing about advertising on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, using those channels to prospect, is how cost effective they are. Okay. For you to get, one video view on YouTube pre-roll, for instance, so the video ads that play that you can skip, those cost on average 3 cents. Okay, so who doesn't have 3 cents, right? so great option. Facebook and Instagram, is a little higher than that. So, but it's still less than $1. Okay, and two, these platforms work better when you start small and scale up. So you shouldn't, be starting and going all in, on like a $10,000, a month budget. You should be starting small and testing how that particular content piece works within the target market that you're sending it to. So I myself, will launch campaigns for $5 and $10 a day. Watch how it performs, and then I'll scale it up from there. And so that is a really, safe and effective strategy. One, to make sure that the content piece that you're running to your target market is on point with them. You can see how they, interact with it with a very small budget. But then two, if it is successful, you can then incrementally, keep scaling your budget and your traffic higher. So kind of a two-part,
Okay.
answer to your question, a little bit of a strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is great, because I think that's part of what stops people, is that they don't know what a strategy would even look like. So, like, they just can't wrap their head around it. So that's really helpful. At the same time, I'm curious about how organic social media and paid social media work together to move people through the sales funnel.
Sure. Good question. I think that looping back to something that we previously talked about, right? Making sure that your salespeople and, a portion of your employees, if not all of them, are organically sharing the content that the main organization is putting out there. So that's one way to utilize organic and to give it more legs, right?
Okay.
A really cool strategy to employ is, number one, organically doing that. Then when any one of your employees' followers interacts with that content or clicks through and visits the landing page or whatever, those individuals can thus be tagged and then sent a series of remarketing ads. And so that's one way that organic and paid can work together.
Okay.
A second strategy on that is somewhat in reverse, to where you can run paid campaigns, those educational prospecting campaigns to new individuals that do not know your business exists. If you put, really great educational content in front of them, okay, what we tend to see is that they do go and like your page so that they can get subsequent updates from you and not just the ads. So that's two ways to where, organic and paid can work together.
Interesting. That's helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. So I really appreciate this information, and we've talked a lot about all of this. If someone's listening and they're feeling like, okay, I got to do this, what is the first step they should take?
Good question. First step that they need to take is they need to start getting their ducks in a row. It's always better to, we've all heard the phrase, failing to plan is planning to fail, right? And so you do need a plan. A lot of times companies will fire out the gate and they'll just, they'll start a Facebook ad campaign, and, they didn't give the content or the ad creative enough thought at all. And the problem with that is that about 80% of the success of these campaigns hinges on the ad creative, right? And the thought through process that you put in place. So that being said, I would sit down, I would plan, I would come up with all the various target audience groups that your business has. And I would, possibly segment them by sex, by gender, by interest, if that's relevant to you. right? Or sectors that they work in. And then I would start, again, using the information that you have at your disposal. Talk to some of your sales team members and say, well, what is this group of people interested in versus this group of people? What are they interested in? And then, you have a good baseline of topics with which you can go and make content around. And by content, I mean, pictures, videos, swipes that you see on Instagram, slide decks that you see on LinkedIn, and you can start creating educational content around, and that's very targeted for your target personas, your target audience. And so that would be the first step, because without good content, a great ad strategy really isn't going to go very far. Mm. And that's what, I wind up helping a lot of people with is, we're really good at ads, but, it's a two-part thing, right? It's the ad's job to get the click, okay? But after they get the click, they go to your website or a landing page. It's the landing page's job to sell them. And so you do need that 1-2 punch.
Got it.
So I think mentally, if a lot of people digest that, it'll produce better long-term results for them. It'll get them started on the right foot,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Wow, Ronnie, this is so great. I really appreciate it. I would love it if you would tell the listeners, how they can find you, especially when they realize they really don't want to do this on their own.
Mm-hmm. Sure thing. So you can visit our website at Soud Marketing. That's SOUD, soudmarketing.com. And then, we have a blog, and I have a ton of helpful articles and videos on there. If you want to further educate yourself, we also have all the information about our services and, the capacity in which we work with clients. But, if you found this helpful and you want some more intricate information, we have it all up on the blog, and they could find us and follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram too. We share everything out on there.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Listeners, thank you. You are who we're doing this for, and that was some really valuable information for you. I'd also like to thank our sponsor. Head over to audibletrial.com/businessgrowth. Get your free trial of audible.com and go exploring. And get your sales strategy headed in the right direction with Succeed Without Selling. Available on Amazon and wherever books are sold. As always, continue to prosper and be curious. And until we meet again on another episode of Accelerate Your Business Growth, goodbye and good day.
¿Por qué esta Coca-Cola de McDonald's sabe tan bien? ¿Será la máquina? ¿Será el popote o el hielo? O quizás soy yo.
No sé, Diego, pero vámonos, ¿no? El ¿por qué esto sabe tan bien deal? Un refresco de cualquier tamaño por $1, solo en el $1, $2, $3 menu de McDonald's. Precios y participación pueden variar, no se puede combinar con cualquier otra oferta o combo mío. Coca-Cola es una marca registrada de The Coca-Cola Company.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Imagine how fast we could solve the world's biggest problems if more SaaS startups would gain traction sooner. Welcome to the Tech Entrepreneur on a Mission podcast. This podcast is dedicated to sharing experiences from B2B SaaS CEOs who are going above and beyond to deliver change that is noticed. You will hear their secrets and learn what is required to build a SaaS business that the world starts talking about and keeps talking about, and how to overcome the roadblocks to do so.